my name is Sonia Fitzpatrick. I'm a chartered physiotherapist for humans, a Pilates instructor and a riding instructor, and I'm very passionate about how Pilates can help your posture and your riding. To identify which posture type you are, you need a mirror and you need to stand sideways to the mirror. The thing we're going to look at, part of your body that identifies your posture type, is your pelvis. So the correct position of the pelvis is where the pubic bone and the front of the pelvic bones here are in a vertical alignment and the tailbone sticks out at 30 degrees. Then if you look at the waistband, it should look horizontal. The curves in the spine should be small. The low back or the lumbar spine curves in slightly, the upper back or the thoracic spine curves out slightly, and the neck or the cervical spine curves in slightly. But these curves are very small. The weight should be evenly distributed on the feet. The first postural problem is where the low back arches because the pelvis has tipped forward. The waistband is now tilted forwards. The pubic bone is now underneath the top of the pelvis, and the distance between the pubic bone and the rib cage has increased because the stomach muscles have lengthened and the back muscles have shortened. This increases the curve in the low back and may be associated with a stoop in the upper back and a poking chin, but not always. Some people are very upright in their upper body, but they still have the pelvis tilted forwards and the arch in the low back. So this is a lordotic back. The other type of problem with the posture is the sway back. This is where the pelvis tips backwards and pushes forwards. This is often associated with a low arch in the back and again a stoop in the upper back and a poking chin, but not always. Somebody can be upright in the upper back and still have a sway back posture. The tailbone is too vertical in this position and the rib cage is behind the pelvis. The pelvis is sticking in front of it. So to correct this posture first, you're going to put your hands in front of your pelvis and you're going to pull your weight back onto your heels and your pelvis underneath your rib cage. The other thing you need to look at is the position of your feet, which should be 4 inches or about the width of your foot apart. Sway backs often stand with their feet apart and their hips pushed forwards like a cowboy, and their hands often are placed in their pockets, or their arms are often folded as they push their hips and their pelvis forward. So bring your feet closer together and make sure the inside border of your feet are parallel. Okay, the next posture, the lordotic back posture with the pelvis tilting forwards. To correct this, you need to engage the abdominals, both the lower abdominals and the upper abdominals, to pull the pubic bone up and the tailbone down. Your glutes may not need to do very much work, but initially you may need to use your glutes to help this position. But eventually you will be able to correct this using your abdominals. The pelvic floor is something which engages with the lower abdominals. The deep muscles in the low abdominal area run transversely across your abdomen, and they are called the transversus. The next layer of abdominal muscles are the obliques, which run in a crisscross fashion from your rib cage to your pelvis. And the most superficial muscle is the six-pack, which runs down the centre. So the deep muscles are very important in both posture types. We're going to do an exercise now to correct these posture types and work on our upper back and our shoulders. So starting with your feet, we're going to feel where our weight is. We're going to keep the feet, the width of one of our feet apart, which is about 4 inches. This establishes the vertical alignment from the hip joint. So when people say stand with your feet hip width apart, they don't mean this wide. They're talking about your hip joint, which is in the centre of your groin. This should then be directly above the centre of your knees and the centre of your ankles. The inside border of your feet should be parallel, and because your feet are triangular, the outside border of the feet will point out. Then think about the weight. Is your weight more on your heels or your toes? Just rock backwards and forwards slightly so that you feel the weight distribution evenly through the heels, the base of the big and the little toe. Then think about how much weight you have on your left and your right leg. Is your weight more on your left or your right? Then rock very gently side to side to make sure that your weight is evenly distributed between both feet. Then have your hands in front of you, and we're going to do an exercise called the dumb waiter. Look in the mirror from the front and see, is your shoulder one shoulder lower than the other, or are your shoulders square? As you bring your shoulders back with this exercise, your shoulders will come back with your arms and your collarbones will open, which will make your shoulders look more square. If you're right-handed, your right shoulder may be lower because you reach for things with your right hand, but when you put your arm back, you don't necessarily put your shoulder back. Or you may have a higher shoulder because you tend to carry things on your right shoulder, like your bag, or even if you're very naughty, you put your shoulder and your ear with the phone in between. That's not good. So we're going to have our hands in front of us and we're going to breathe in, again, wide with our hands and our collarbones to about 70 degrees with our forearms, and we're going to breathe out as we bring the hands forward. We're going to engage the abdominals and correct our pelvic position. Breathing in again, growing tall from the back of the head, tucking the chin in, and then engaging the abdominals again as we breathe out. Again, from the side, we're going to correct our pelvic position. We're going to breathe in and make sure the elbows are hanging directly next to the seam of our top, and they're not going behind the vertical, because that will encourage a sway or even our arch back. So keep your muscles engaged at the front to enable your elbows to stay by your side. Last one. We're going to breathe in, widen our arms, making sure our arms are hanging vertically next to our side, engaging the abdominals to correct the pelvic position, and then we breathe out, keeping the shoulders back and the spine lengthened as we breathe out. Thank you for watching. Please identify your posture type before moving on to the next video, and I'll see you in the next one.